Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. We have a special guest with us. It's Susie Dawson. She's an activist, journalist, former party leader, and current president of the Internet Party of New Zealand. She specializes in writing about intelligence agencies, surveillance, technology, and geopolitics. And she's a fierce advocate for truth tellers, particularly Julian Assange and Edward Snowden. She currently lives in Moscow, Russia, where she's seeking temporary asylum due to political persecution she's experienced in New Zealand as a result of her work. Welcome, Susie Dawson. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Jimmy.
So real quick, before we get into Julian Assange, what is the persecution that you've experienced in New Zealand?
Unfortunately, it's very similar to the types of persecution that other whistleblowers, activists, and at-risk journalists around the world face from their governments, particularly where their governments are aligned with what the NSA calls the global network, or what many people think of as Five Eyes, which is simply that they didn't like my work and they wanted to shut it down by whatever means necessary.
And what did they do to shut it down? I mean, what did they do?
I had house break-ins, I had my vehicle tampered with, I was being surveilled and tailed and photographed 24/7, I was having my relationships and my career and my finances interfered with, you name it, it was happening.
No kidding. Wow. Wow, that's wild. So let's move on to Julian Assange. Now, everybody knows what's been happening. Julian Assange used to be the darling of the left when he was revealing war crimes of the Bush administration. And then as soon as he started to tell the truth about the liberal class, things, all hell broke loose. And so now he's been held up in the Ecuadorian embassy in England because, they came at him with a bogus sex charge, assault charge, which was completely discredited, and now it's been dropped. And but what's really going on is the CIA wants to get at him. Will you tell me what's really going on?
Well, Julian has been at the forefront of truth-telling and independent journalism since 2006, 2007 at least, and he has been opening the eyes of the world to how our governments actually operate, and also how the security and military and intelligence infrastructure truly operates, how they work, their methods, the types of operations that they're doing behind closed doors. And this is a first because we don't hear this type of thing from the New York Times or the Washington Post or anywhere really in Western journalism. And Julian has been at the forefront of that battle for the public right to know and public information. And as a result, he has been ruthlessly targeted by those agencies and a myriad of governments now, Sweden, Ecuador, US, UK, among, and to some extent, I guess, Australia in terms of their passivity around his targeting. And so now it's up to us, the people, to stand up and defend Julian if we want to still have him out there doing what he does for us.
So, and what he does is reveal how governments really work. That's what he really reveals, and that's why he's a real threat to the establishment. Because, he doesn't play favorites, and he does actually reveal how governments work, which is pretty ugly and always against the people. So should we jump into, you said you had a few top 10 lists you made to share with people. Do you want to jump into that right now?
Yeah, sure, if you want to. So I'm a child of the 80s, and I was just thinking today about the old David Letterman shows and how they used to have the top 10, and everyone would sit there and laugh at, his witticisms. But I was realizing like the top 10 was never really about anything significant or important. And I thought, what if we made like some top 10 lists of things that are, vital information that people should know and have access to, and that maybe that could become like a thing for your show where you could like use this, your platform to get this information out to people the way that you do, nearly every day of the week. So I came up with a couple of things related to WikiLeaks, but also one related to Edward Snowden, because Edward Snowden's revelations have obviously changed the world. More than 50% of the internet is now HTTPS because of the Snowden leaks.
What is that?
Many people are using.
When you say 50% of the internet is now what is that?
HTTPS? It means that the websites are secured by encryption. So you see many links now start with HTTPS, and that came about. Yeah, that came about because of Edward Snowden's revelations, and also the increasing use of end-to-end encrypted messaging apps like Signal, or even WhatsApp now is encrypted. So I also put together a top 10 list of findings in the Snowden files that people don't know about because they haven't been published by the mainstream media. A lot of people know a few important things about those files, but not all of them. So here's my little list. We'll kick it off with Snowden, and then I'll move back to WikiLeaks. So Elizabeth Leah Voss, who's the editor-in-chief of an amazing website called Disobedient Media, or disobedientnews.com, and she and I have been studying the Snowden files. We've been studying the batch releases of files from Glenn Greenwald and The Intercept, rather than just studying what the mainstream has covered. So these are 10 findings that I just picked out today. So number one, there is internal NSA resistance to the 9/11 Commission and Senate Intelligence Committee's oversight. So we found documents where the NSA employees were talking to each other and saying, hey, we do not want, and in fact, it actually says, trust me, we don't want the 9/11 Commission or Senate Intelligence Committee to change the way that we do business. And of course, those committees had been empowered by government to change the way that the intelligence community works. So that was a great example of how impervious they are to oversight. Number two, the NSA says in its documents that all Osama bin Laden had to do to be undetectable by the NSA was to use PDF files to communicate. Because at that time of the Afghanistan invasion and Iraq invasion, the NSA actually didn't have the ability to read content that was in a PDF document.
What? How could that possibly be?
According to the NSA documents, that's the case. They literally said all Osama would have had to do to be undetectable by the NSA was to use PDF files. Number three, according to the NSA, it takes a whole village for them to spy on the UN. That's a direct quote. They worked with the State Department and the CIA to spy on and monitor and infiltrate the United Nations. Number four, according to the NSA, the US considers the United Nations to be, and this is a direct quote, an arm of US foreign policy. So we think of the United Nations as representing everybody on the planet, or all the different countries. The US considers the UN to be a tool for implementing US foreign policy and for dominating the planet. Number five, the NSA was literally planning a system of global control. They refer to it in their documents as the global network. And they want that spying network to cover the entire globe. They actually say they want 100% coverage of every square inch of the planet through their satellites and their geospatial and everything else that they do. Number six, like not scary much, is it? Number six, there's proof that NSA started to hand over entire databases of data to their customers, not just to write intelligence reports. So the implication of this is that, like, for example, one of their customers, it turns out, is the Federal Reserve Bank of America, which is not even a government department. So if the Federal Reserve wanted information on some businessman or whoever, they could pull an entire database of raw information directly from the NSA and then do what they pleased with it rather than just having a written report. Number seven, internally, this is a huge one. Internally, NSA claims credit for both George Bush and Colin Powell's bullshit Iraq war speeches at the United Nations. So remember that?
Wait a minute. So, and what? Say that again. The NSA what? Say it again.
The NSA claimed credit for both George Bush and Colin Powell's Iraq war speeches at the United Nations for, I believe it was UN Resolution 1441, to the premise to invade Iraq. Those speeches, the raw intelligence in those speeches came from the National Security Agency. And in their documents, they actually say that their participation was historic. You know, they talk about their contribution being historic on the same level as cracking the Enigma code in World War II. That's how they think of themselves. Number eight, NSA wants to take its battlefield targeting alert system that they use to kill people in Iraq and in other war zones and implement it globally so that they can target anybody anywhere on the globe. Remember how George W. Bush said the world is a battlefield? this is a global war on terrorism. Like, we didn't really take him seriously. We kind of just thought, overblown politicians, like, this is their rhetoric or whatever. But in the background, the intelligence agencies have literally been planning to make the entire world the battlefield. Number 9, NSA, when they get into their partnerships with different countries, they actually get access to the networks and hardware operations of the intelligence agencies of that country, as well as using mass surveillance programs to suck up all the data from the citizens of that country. So the NSA has access to and control over the satellites and the hardware of its partner nations, of which there is now over 100. And number 10, this is about something that I hear all the time that's used to discredit Snowden or the seriousness of his revelations. You hear, but Snowden was a CIA operative and he's actually just trying to attack the NSA. He didn't leak anything about the CIA. Well, when we study these files, and we've studied thousands of them now, and we've done it on live stream, if you go to #decipheru or at decipheru.com, you can actually read through and see all the source links and the documents that I'm referencing here. In studying those files, we found dozens of documents that are about the CIA, about CIA operations, CIA methodology, and CIA working in collaboration with the NSA. And so it's a total myth that the agencies are in competition with each other. They're actually the left hand and the right hand of the executive. The NSA collects the information and the CIA acts on it. And we discovered that the CIA actually gives annual, what they call denial and deception awards to NSA staff members. And also NSA goes and has meetings where the CIA director is present at that meeting. So these guys are hands in hand. This whole idea that the agencies are in competition with each other is total nonsense. And it's also nonsense that Snowden didn't leak information about the CIA. So there you go. There's my top 10 not commonly known, but really important things that were in those leaks. And of course, Julian saved Edward Snowden's life.
How did Julian save Edward Snowden's life? First of all, any one of those top 10 things you had in there could be a whole segment on its own. So we're really packing the information into this segment. Please make sure you're subscribed. Even if you think you are subscribed, there's a good chance you're not. So please check. It only takes a second, and then click that bell, and that's how you know you'll get a notice every time we drop a video. They still won't notify you every time we drop a video, but that's the best we can do. Plus, if you like the show, you want to support it, please become a patron. We give you hours of bonus material every week. And come see a live show. Go to JimmyDoreComedy.com for our live schedule.